And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. We're getting there with your help. So hit subscribe, watch, comment. Keep the comments coming and share with your friends. We'll get to 500,000 overnight if you do. If every person does it with one person, literally shares this with one person, we'll be over 500,000 in no time. And why am I asking this? Because the stupidity, the level of stupidity knows no bounds. I mean, just the other day on Political Beatdown, my co-host Ben Meiselas and I, we discussed how Trump and the sycophants around him are trying to flood the zone. Trump sold America a bunch of lies, and because he can't fathom being wrong, he will ultimately destroy the global economy. Play the clip.
Let's show you Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent here. And here Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is trying to explain what he believes Donald Trump means when Trump says that little girls who are sad about having fewer dolls should just suck it up. His theory is it's going to be for the greater good, because what we're trying to do here in America is allow these little girls to get the low-paying jobs that are currently in China. We want to bring those jobs to the U.S. so these little girls can work in the factories, and then they could work there for generations and generations. Now, you may think the craziest part about what he's saying is that the little girls should only get $1.05. But when you listen closer to what he's actually saying here, he's saying for the greater good of the little girls working in factories for the rest of their lives, for the oligarchs. Listen carefully here what their true intentions are. Let's play it.
The other thing, too, is this reporter behind me was quite snarky the other day when President Trump talked about the girl having two dolls. And he said, well, what? President didn't take the question, but he said, what would you tell that girl? And I said, I would tell that young girl that you will have a better life than your parents, that you and your family, thanks to President Trump, can now be confident again that you will have a better life than your parents, which working class Americans had abandoned that idea. Your family will own a home. You will be able to advance. You will have a good education. You will have economic freedom. That's what we are advancing.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that...
And let me say something here about Donnie Two Dolls. All right. Be very clear about this gangster. And I want to thank Midas Touch Network for posting my story that I compared Trump to a bunch of gangsters. Here's the crazy shit. You know what they want? They don't want little girls playing with dolls. They want little girls to get pregnant and have more children. This is the shit that's coming out of this GOP. And, you know, I got to tell you, I felt for the first time yesterday when I saw people like Mitch McConnell, when I saw people, and I can't stand Mitch McConnell, or when I saw Lindsey Graham, another guy who's far from on my top 10 list, when I saw them turn around and say, okay, we're really going too far over the line right now. Because that's what they're doing. They don't want you playing with dolls. They want you playing with your children because they just want to start overpopulating. That's the ideology of this MAGA group. And I just wanted to bring that to people's attention because here's the thing. You know, Ben, as well as I, what Trump does. He opens up the floodgate. He opens the spigot and he just floods the entire zone with as much bullshit and nonsense as he can, in order to distract us from the other things that they're saying. The beauty of Ben, the beauty of myself, of Midas Touch Network, this Political Beatdown show, is we bring it all together because we don't forget any of it. If I have to write it down, I write it down. I put it into a little book and I want to weave it, right? We want to weave it back in so that you understand what these people are thinking.
You know, and that's where I go back to data. I always go back to data. You know, when I gave that speech, this week too, what I said to them also was, I said, I run a political media company. So you would think that I love politics. And I said to them, I said, I actually don't like politics. I said, because politics to me is an abstraction in many ways from people. And to me, you have to focus on people and you have to listen to people. Then the politics should line up with your defense of people. and human beings. Politics has been used to gamify the situation. And when you gamify it, you remove humanity from this and you remove logic. And basically, you all of a sudden start having debates over due process, right? The Democrats, due process. The MAGA Republicans, oh, you just want to support terrorists? And it's like, to me, I could turn this channel, Michael Cohen, into a place where, you have the split screen and then this side yells and this side yells. It's like, I own that, yeah. That's not what I like. I don't enjoy. That's not the type of discourse that I enjoy. You know why? There's no debate on some things. I'm not going to debate somebody who believes there should not be due process because of your status or the color of your skin or whatever. That's not a debate. There's no debate. Our Constitution says due process, you get process. And if you're convicted, you get punished. That's our system. You don't like our system, go to North Korea, go to Russia. I don't want to debate people who say doing tariffs against the world, where you use trade deficit as a formula and a proxy for reciprocal tariff makes sense. It doesn't. It's stupid. There's no debate to be had. Right. We know where this brings you, and it brings you to bad places. So when it brings you to bad places, what the MAGAs do, they then attack someone like Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and they're like, oh, he's a Biden guy. He's a Dem. He's political. It's like, Donald Trump, you appointed this guy. He's your pick, Jerome Powell. And by the way, a good pick. He's a fine pick. Just because I support one party more than the other, I could say Jerome Powell seemed to have a steady hand. He's a smart guy. He uses logic. And we know that tariffs are bad. So I listen to what he says, and that informs me. But MAGA listens to what he says, and then they go and they attack him, and they go, oh, they're Fauciing him.
My grandmother used to always say, you can't debate stupid, right? It's just a complete and total waste of time. You can't debate stupid. When I heard this idiot yesterday, who I was having coffee with, tell me he thought Trump's superimposed face on the Pope was funny, I looked at him and I said to him, let's just say you and I have very different senses of humor. I don't find it funny. Pope Francis, less than 2 weeks ago, and this guy's putting his face on the. This is a guy who has as much right to be the Pope as you or I. I mean, and I'm not, because I'm not Catholic either. I mean, the whole thing is just so stupid. And for whatever, then they turn around when the common response that they give you. Well, imagine if it was Kamala Harris, Ben. Imagine if it was Hillary Clinton or their favorite boogeyman, right? Barack Obama. Imagine that they turn around. This is their return to response. Well, look at what Barack Obama did. Dude, we're talking about 2025. We're talking about a guy who's decided in and of himself. By the way, I agree. It's blasphemous. A guy in 2025 who is absolutely trying to destroy the global economy for an ideology that everyone has told him is wrong, except for the handful of people that he has chosen around him to validate what it is that he's doing. I'm with you, Ben. I'm lost on the concept. It makes no sense to me at all, and I'll never be able to understand it.
And look, I'm not some sort of, person who's like, I like jokes, I like dirty jokes sometimes. Like I like, I like some good, humor. Like I like comedy shows. I like people making humor that sometimes makes me feel, uncomfortable. Like I'm okay with that. But there's a time and there's a place and there's a location for all of these things. Like there's something called the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is actually where you could be funny, right? It's an environment where jokes and self-deprecating humor is supposed to actually take place. And there's places for that type of humor. And you're like, okay, you know, that's funny. You can do it in a setting. But when it comes to on a day-to-day basis showing leadership in these United States of America from the presidency, that's they're not supposed to be pulling this. They're not jokesters, right? They're not the class clown. Like, you have the nuclear codes. You're leading the country. Americans are suffering right now. Prices are actually more expensive, despite you lying and claiming that they're less expensive. There's real systemic issues that are taking place, and you're out there doing jokes. And I think this joke framing of things, though, also desensitizes you to the concept of jokes. And he's a jokester. This is just him being funny. And then he weaponizes that and uses that. For example, when he says that he's going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, right? And what did he tell Time magazine? He says, I was joking. That was a joke. And it's the fake news who took me literally when I was just trying to be fun. This is what he literally said. He said he was joking and said it in jest when he said that he would end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. And that's so it all goes back to, you can't take my words seriously. And the broader theme here, you know, again, going back to the people over the politics, and I'm saying this because I'm a man, is that I grew up and my parents taught me, Ben, be a man of your word, right? That was something growing up. Be a man of your word. That's important. And so when you have a leader who is not a man of his word, but is a liar at every step, it erodes trust. It has major implications for stability internationally, frankly, which is one of the reasons why I think you have war breaking out between India and Pakistan when Donald Trump said there would never be new wars. I mean, you have a war right now between two nuclear powers. The United States is currently at war in Yemen with the Houthis. And by the way, we've lost 2 F-18 Hornet airplanes that the Trump regime doesn't even like.
Fell off the side of a fucking ship.
But you know what? You know what? But who knows, right? I mean, that's what they're saying, which is bad. In and of itself is bad. But there have been multiple of the Reaper drones that have crashed over Yemen, multiple, like 8. We lost 2 F-18s, and we know that there have been hacks on Hegseth and Walls and all of their equipment. Do you want me to not speculate that there's cover-ups? When they're lying about everything, and you're seeing a pattern of things crashing and breaking there, when we now have air traffic controllers in Newark saying, don't travel to Newark Airport, the hell? That's not normal.
It's not. Okay. And by the way, to those of you, our brigaders, it's not that there are 3 wars going on right now. There are 4. Let's not forget, you have Israel, Hamas, you have Russia, Ukraine, you have United States, Yemen, and you also have now India and Pakistan. 4. To the man who said that there would be no war under him because everyone would be afraid to do so, that they understand he doesn't play games. Well, let me be very clear. The hostages in Israel are not out. The 24-hour deadline between Russia and Ukraine, how's that going? All right. Nothing is going as Trump promised during the campaign. He sold America a bunch of lies, and they bought it. For whatever reason, they bought it.
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.